Welcome to a new way to level up in D&D. More classes, more customization, easier multi-classing. If you are looking for a fun twist to character progression, then you are looking for D&D skill trees. If you'd like to learn more, check the description. Otherwise, on to the video. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another DST video. Today we're going to be looking at the Chieftain. This is a full martial class, loosely, or I guess mostly inspired by the Summoner class from Pathfinder 2nd Edition, although it is quite a bit different in the fact that it is a full martial rather than being a spellcaster / martial. There is actually no innate spellcasting within the class itself, although there are some nodes, I specifically know 2 of, that are really effective if you want to be a spellcaster with your subclass and the Chieftain as your main class, or even Chieftain as your subclass with Wizard or Sorcerer as your main class. So a lot of different options with this class, but it is loosely based off the Summoner in the sense that you're going to be having a companion-esque feature that allows you to have 2 bodies on the battlefield at the same time, although just like the Summoner, you actually share hit points with that creature. Now, we're doing the Chieftain because it won the class vote, although I just want to note that I actually recorded the Warden and Wizard class lists as well, because the Wizard won the vote. I recorded the Wizard, went to look at my Discord, and suddenly the Warden won the vote. So I was like, oh, it's fine, I'll just record the Warden and then I'll do that one. So I recorded the Warden, went to edit that video, looked at my Discord, now the Chieftain won. So I really hope that it doesn't change again, but hopefully this is the last time I have to record. But either way, that just means that those next classes that come out will be faster to come out because I already have the audio recorded. I just have to edit them. Either way, if you want to vote on the next class that comes out, as you can see, this list here that I have up on screen is what we have remaining, other than the Chieftain. And after that, we'll be getting into kind of the retuning and fixing of all the little problems that I've discovered while I'm making these videos. And that I'm kind of excited for. We're getting really close to finishing this entire system, which is very cool. But let's hop into the Chieftain with this prologue out of the way. The Chieftain is a D12 hit dice character with strength as their major stat. This is mainly because your Tulpa, which is the little guy that you can summon, uses strength for all their attacks. So it's probably going to be an important stat for you. And wisdom is their spellcasting stat, which is also very important because of all the different abilities you can get with wisdom, especially on the left half of the tree. There's a lot of abilities throughout the class list that basically use wisdom as a way to either up damage or help your skills out, which is very nice. This means that mixing Chieftain with a spellcaster, if you're very willing to do so, I would either recommend going Druid or Cleric or some other spellcaster that uses wisdom a lot because it's actually very useful. All that being said, let's hop into what you get from the starting benefits. That being 12 plus your Constitution modifier in hit points, 1 hit dice, proficiency in simple and martial weapons. They get proficiency in all armor, and then they get to choose 1 set of tools. They'll get wisdom and dexterity saving throw proficiencies, as well as 2 from acrobatics, athletics, history, insight, intimidation, perception, religion, stealth, and survival. They also get an ability score improvement, and you get the ability that says when only your Tulpa takes damage, first reduce it by your Constitution modifier, which is a great way to stay in the fight even longer if you are main classing Chieftain. And then, whether you're starting or just grabbing Chieftain as a subclass, you'll get the Tulpa ability, which is the main ability for the class. This is your summon, this is your companion. If I keep comparing this to the trainer, the Chieftain and trainer are actually very similar classes. It's just that the Chieftain is more tanky and more martial based, whereas the companion of the trainer is more skill based, and although they are focused on combat, it's the rogue variant compared to the barbarian. Tulpa says that you can manifest a thought form called a Tulpa. You decide all of the looks and flavor of this creature, and as an action, you can manifest and demanifest your Tulpa at will. But it will automatically demanifest if you are more than 5 times your Constitution score in feet away, or if you fall unconscious. So an example of this means that if you have a 10 Constitution, it can be up to 50 feet away from you before it would be demanifest, and of course you can summon it anywhere within that range. Of course, also if you fall unconscious, it will also demanifest. While your tulpa is manifest, both you and the tulpa have vulnerability to psychic damage. The tulpa can be small or medium, it shares all your skill proficiencies, scores, and proficiency bonus, and it can speak one language that you know, and one extra language of your choice. Its AC equals your constitution score, and it has a move speed of 30 feet. It does not breathe or require food, and you and your tulpa share hit points. If your tulpa takes damage, reduce your hit points by that amount. If both you and your tulpa are within the same damaging area, roll a saving throw for both, then only take damage for the lower result. On your turn, your tulpa will move when you move, and you can use your action, bonus action, or reaction to let your tulpa use the same type of action. Your tulpa starts with the regular blows weapon, but it can be given new weapons as you level up. All these weapons can look however you want and will be strength-based proficient weapon attacks dealing slashing, bludgeoning, or piercing damage, whichever is most applicable. And then the regular blows weapon, which is right underneath it, says that it has a 5-foot reach melee weapon attack that deals 1d6 damage. And again, you get to pick whether that's slashing, bludgeoning, or piercing damage, because you can flavor these attacks however you want. But let me break down a few of those things. The other thing I wanted to bring up is the damaging area thing. This is basically saying, like, if you get hit by a fireball and you and your tulpa are both right next to each other, you both roll a saving throw, and then whichever saving throw is lowest, you take the damage based off of that ability. You don't take double damage from all area effects, you only take damage for one. And the other thing about the giving it actions and such, basically you still only have a action, bonus action, and reaction for any given turn, but either you or your tulpa can use those action, bonus action, or reaction, basically. So you don't get double of anything. You'll have abilities later on that allows you to kind of share actions with each other, but most of the time you'll be probably giving your action, the attack action, to your tulpa if you want it to be using its weapons, which will be a lot stronger the more you level up in Chieftain. And so although the damage right now may not seem the best, you will be getting a lot stronger weapon attacks with the Chieftain on the right half of the build, and of course if you go to the left half you'll also be getting more methods for either dealing more damage with every single attack, or even giving you abilities to attack at the same time as your Chieftain. There's kind of two different builds that you can go for with the Chieftain, in the sense that you can either make it fully tulpa based damage, where basically your tulpa's doing all the work for you, or you can go for a more teamwork based strategy where basically you attack, then your tulpa attacks, and you kind of attack together. There's a lot of different methods for this, and of course there is also, if you want a subclass in a spellcaster, the method where your tulpa takes attacks while you cast spells from the back. Sorcerer is actually really good with this, or ways to basically cast as a bonus action, because then you can bonus action cast while still giving your attack to your tulpa. But of course, we're not going to talk about all that right now. Instead, let's move into the next abilities we can go. I'm going to go to the left first, where I can grab Resistant Form to start us out. Resistant Form says that your tulpa now has resistance to bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing damage. This kind of makes it into a barbarian-esque flavor in the sense that your tulpa now takes a lot less damage, which means that if your tulpa's at the front lines while you stay at the back lines, it can be doing stuff while taking a lot less damage than you. The kind of downside to this is that you can still be targeted, and of course they do have vulnerability to psychic damage if that ever comes up. Now I could go up this path, or I could go left. We're going to go all the way left first, and then I'll go down this path before I go all the way right before going down the other middle path. So grabbing a feat, we can then grab Strong Mind. This is a really quick ability that we can pick up that really helps our tulpa damage out, even if we only have regular blows. Again, the extra weapons are on the right side, which we can grab really quickly. I mean, the first one which could be picked up by level 2 if you go full class Chieftain, but I'm just going to come back to it later because I think this side is a better starting point. But that being said, even with just Strong Mind, you're going to be doing a lot more damage. Strong Mind says that your tulpa deals extra damage equal to your Wisdom modifier on all their attacks. This is really nice. I mean, being able to deal extra damage based off your Wisdom modifier means that you're basically going to be adding both your Strength and your Wisdom to all your damage, which means that if you can max both of them out, that's a flat 10 damage that's guaranteed. And And we've got 3 different branches here that just kind of are offshoots before we go down the main path continuing forward. I'm going to grab all 3 of them before I go forward, but of course you can skip any of them if you don't think they're very useful. First is flying form. This says that your tulpa has a fly speed equal to its walking speed. Very nice. Being able to fly this quickly. Now, of course, it's not you flying, it's your tulpa, but it is still very useful. And if you can grab mental swap later, that means that you can teleport with your tulpa, and the flying will come in even more handy. Convincingly wise is kind of the one skill-based ability that you can get on the chieftain, but it is very nice. It says that you can add your wisdom modifier to your charisma checks, which is massively useful. And finally, quickened creation says that your tulpa's move speed increases by 10 feet, which means that your tulpa's just a little bit faster. If you were worried about that ever being a problem, there's your solution. Now, of course, going down the main path, we've got back and forth before it splits into 2 different branches. Back and forth says that if you attack a creature, then your tulpa attacks the same creature, they will have advantage on the attack. If your tulpa attacks a creature, then you attack the same creature, you will get a +2 bonus to the attack and damage. Now, this is going to have to be done over the course of a couple of different rounds early on, but later you'll be able to attack at the same time as your tulpa. So right now, you could make an attack against a creature, and then that procs your tulpa to have an advantage on their next attack next turn. And then after that, you could attack the same creature and you get that +2 bonus to attack and damage. So it kind of is it's literally a back and forth motion that you'll be doing with your tulpa to get a lot out of it. This, of course, can be done all in the same turn if we move down this path. Starting with an ability score improvement, we can then grab Assisting Dodge. Assisting Dodge says that when you and your tulpa are both forced to make a saving throw for the same effect, take the higher of the 2 saving throws, ignoring the lower result. So this basically says that whenever you get hit by a fireball, instead of taking the lower result, you take the higher result. It's just a lot more effective. Basically, it gives you a free advantage stacked on top of advantage if you have advantage from a different source, which is pretty cool. Next, we can grab a proficiency bonus increase, and then we can grab Twin Attack, which is the ability that I was talking about that's really good. Twin Attack says that when your tulpa takes the attack action, the other can also take the attack action. So you take the attack action, your tulpa also gets to attack action, which means that this is technically extra attack. It just has to be done by both you and your tulpa. And since you already have back and forth, this means that you can attack a creature, and then your tulpa can attack the creature, proccing that same ability both on the same turn. And then next turn you can just do the exact same motion and get both of the effects off. And you just repeat this until that target dies, move on to the next one. It also means that if you don't want to use back and forth, you and your tulpa can both attack different targets if that seems like an important thing for a specific combat. Enforced Thought Form says that your tulpa is now immune to being grappled, restrained, and prone. This is a very cool, it kind of leans into the sense that this is a spirit creature that you're using that's based off of your mental fortitude. Psychic Casting is one of the abilities I was talking about that kind of helps with being able to cast spells on the chieftain. It's completely useless if you don't have any spells, but if you do, it says that your tulpa can cast spells that you have access to using your spell slots. So basically, if you want to cast spells using your tulpa's position, basically, you can do so. Pretty nice. Moving into Ranged Mind, we actually have 2 different instances of this, one over there, one over here. This says that your tulpa can now move farther away from you, equal to your proficiency bonus times 10 feet, which means that if you have both instances, it'll be proficiency bonus times 20 feet. But very nice, it allows your tulpa to go a little bit farther. That also means you can summon it from farther away. Now let's move it down this middle path off the left side. Thought of Choice, there's also 2 instances of this, one here and one here, is probably one of the strongest abilities you can pick up on the chieftain. Similar to the trainer, this is how you kind of customize your chieftain past the bounds of the regular class. Thought of Choice says that when you gain this feature, pick a single node from any class and your tulpa gains the benefits of that node. So now if you really want to have a raging tulpa, you can grab Rage off Barbarian for your tulpa, or you could grab Extra Attack for your tulpa, or you could grab spellcasting for your Tulpa. Basically, there's a lot of different options. Literally every node in the game is available to you when you grab this, which means that you can pick up 2 of any nodes from any classes, mix and match whatever you feel like is cool. Obviously, having +1 attack for both of them is just really good, but of course, don't be afraid to look into some other options, because there are some really fun combos that you can make when you actually go into it. Off of this, we can grab Ethereal Manifestation. This is pretty nice if you're into certain campaigns. It says that your Tulpa can now travel through solid objects as an ethereal being. Also, your Tulpa can attack creatures living or hiding on the ethereal plane. This means that if you're fighting ghosts a lot, or spirits, or anything that kind of uses the ethereal plane as a method for travel or to dodge attacks, your Tulpa kind of ignores that concept and can continue fighting them, which is very cool. It also is really good for scouting. Your Tulpa is not invisible, everybody can see it, but being able to just kind of walk through a solid wall can make a lot of encounters way easier. Off this, let's grab Hardened Mind. This says that your Tulpa can add your Wisdom modifier to its AC. This means that if you have a maxed out Constitution modifier and a maxed out Wisdom modifier, your Tulpa's AC is 25, which is, that's a really good AC. That is the best you can get on your Tulpa. It can't get any higher than that unless you use Thought of Choice to give yourself an ability that gives you more AC, but it's honestly not bad. And having a high Constitution and a high Wisdom are both good things to have, so it's not like you're taking away from any other portions of the Chieftain by doing this. It's just a path you can make. Reactive Mind. This says that your Tulpa has a reaction of its own and concentration of its own, which doesn't overlap with your concentration checks. This is very good because this means that if you do take Psychic Casting and Reactive Mind, this means that both you and your Tulpa can concentrate on 2 different spells at the same time. A few videos ago, I talked about the Shaman, which is the kind of biggest way that you can get double concentration in my system. The Chieftain is actually the other way. Now, it doesn't have any innate spellcasting in its class of its own, but picking up Reactive Mind by just gunning it down this middle path and then taking the push feat to grab Psychic Casting can mean that you and your Tulpa are a really strong spellcasting force on the battlefield. Off this, we can grab Always Thinking, which says that your Tulpa no longer disappears if you fall unconscious. While making death saves, you need to fail 5 times in order to die, and only succeed twice in order to gain 1 hit point and regain consciousness. This is another really good ability that would honestly be not bad to pick up with the push feat. You wouldn't have a Tulpa, so the first part would be pointless, but making it so that you have to take 5 failed death saves to die, and by the way, succeeding 3 times normally doesn't bring you back to 1 hit point. It just stabilizes you. This ability makes it so that if you succeed twice, you're back to 1 hit point, which means that you can pretty consistently not die as long as you're not being attacked. And off top of that, we can also get proficiency bonus increase, which isn't the most useful on the Chieftain, but grabbing proficiency bonus increases is never bad. And now we're going to be going to the right side. This is the side that kind of focuses on giving your Tulpa different weapon abilities and different ways to attack. So if you felt like this side was boring, this side might be the half for you. We'll start with Visual Tulpa. This just says that you can see through your Tulpa's eyes as well as your own, giving you a little bit better scouting preferences. But off that, we can grab an ability score improvement, and then we've got 4 different options for new weapons we can grab: long blows, heavy blows, medium blows, and light blows. There's also flurry blow and rushing blow a little bit higher up, but for now, let's just start with these 4. Long blow, which is a pun, is a 30/60 foot ranged weapon attack that deals 1d8 damage. Again, it can be bludgeoning, slashing, or piercing damage, your choice, because you can flavor it however you want. This is kind of the ranged option that you can get for your Tulpa if you want to be making ranged attacks with your Tulpa. The other one is Heavy Blow. This says that it has a 5-foot reach melee weapon attack that deals 1d12 damage. So this is the heavy attack, if you will. Light Blows down here is a little bit different. This says that it has a 5-foot reach melee weapon attack that deals 1d6 plus your dexterity modifier damage. And Medium Blows is the kind of reach-based option, it has a 15-foot reach melee weapon attack that deals 1d8 damage. So they all have better damage than regular blows, which means that once you pick up one of these, stop using regular blows and replace it with this option. That being said, each one of these options also has a upgraded version that we'll talk about in a second. Off of medium blows, we can grab a feat, and then we can grab a tear. Now, tear says that when a creature enters your Tulpa's reach, they can use their reaction to make an attack with medium blows. Now, again, if you have a reactive mind so that your Tulpa has a reaction of its own, that means that basically this is a free reaction, but if it's not, even if you just want to spend your reaction to give your Tulpa this, it's not bad either, because it guarantees that you have medium blows in order to pick up tear, which means that you can make this attack, and that also means that its reach is 15 feet. That is a huge area on the battlefield that your Tulpa is ready to just pounce on top of whenever you attack, or whenever something enters its reach. The other thing to keep in mind is that if you do have reactive mind, you can still give your reaction to your Tulpa, which means that they can actually use this ability twice if two different creatures enter its range at the same time. Off of light blows, there's another feat, which means that you'll actually be getting a lot of feats on the Chieftain, but notably you don't actually, your Chieftain doesn't benefit from your feats yet. There is an ability later on the line that gives your Tulpa the ability to use your feats as well, but for now, only you are benefiting from your feats. Off that feat, we can grab a jab. This is the light upgrade. It says that if your Tulpa hits with 2 light blow attacks on the same target on your turn, your Tulpa can use its reaction to make a heavy blow attack, provided that they have access to that weapon. Notably, just like I said earlier, you can still, if you have reactive mind, you can still give your Tulpa your reaction, which means that if you have a way to give your Tulpa 4 attacks in one turn, they can make 2 attacks with a light weapon, use their reaction to make a heavy attack, and then they can make 2 more attacks with their light weapon and use your reaction to make another heavy attack, which is 6 attacks in one turn. Now, of course, you need to get your Tulpa to having 4 attacks on the same turn, but there are ways to do this. Now, of course, off long blow and heavy blow is thought of choice. This is the one that gives your Tulpa 1 node from any class of your choice, which again, extra attack and +1 attack are great, but there are a lot of cool options you can pick up, like being able to smite with your Chieftain would be really cool. And off of the left half, we have Rain, which is the long blow upgrade. Rain says that your Tulpa's long blow attacks have a range of 50-80 feet instead of the 30-60 that it had originally, and they deal your dex modifier damage to surrounding creatures within 5 feet on a hit. This is a huge damage upgrade. This is light blows obviously deals extra damage equal to the dexterity modifier, but this deals dexterity modifier damage to all creatures within that range, which is huge. And on the right here, we have the heavy attack upgrade, which the heavy attack upgrade is kind of not the best, but that is because the light blow upgrade also uses heavy blows, so it kind of needs to be balanced around that. Whenever you hit with a heavy blow attack, the creature is pushed 5 feet away from your Tulpa, which means that this is free, like unsavable, pushing 5 feet, and it ignores size restrictions, it ignores everything. It is automatically going to happen as long as the Tulpa hits with heavy blows. And again, this combos with jab, which allows you to make a heavy blow attack with the reaction as long as you hit with 2 light blows, which is very nice. Now we can grab Mental Swap, which I talked about a little bit earlier. This allows you to basically, as a bonus action, swap positions with your Tulpa. So since you can summon your Tulpa anywhere within its range, this is free teleportation. And it is like non-resource intensive teleportation. The Chieftain actually ends up being a really good scouting class. I actually, one thing I'm going to do after I finish all these things is kind of do it like a tier list. If anybody's watched the Dungeon Dudes, they did a tier list based off all the different like things you can do as a party member. So like there's the scout, there's the frontliner, there's the tank, there's those type of things. I think I'm going to do a tier list like that for every single one of my classes too. Tell me if you guys think that'd be interesting in the comments below, or just tell me in my Discord server. But overall, I think Mental Swap is a huge buff to the Chieftain's capabilities as a scout, because it allows them to teleport basically anywhere. It takes a few actions to do so, because you got to demanifest as an action, and then manifest as an action and then use your bonus action to swap positions with your Tulpa, but that is still teleportation from up to what your Constitution score times 5 feet away. Pick up Ranged Mind twice, and that's plus 20 for every proficiency bonus that you have. It's a really, really long-ranged teleport, and it is free. After that, we can pick up another feat, which, like I said, the Chieftain has a ton of feats. They are really feat heavy, which is very nice. Off that, we can get the proficiency bonus increase, and then we can grab extra attack. Now, notably, this is not extra attack for your Tulpa. This is only extra attack for your body. When you give your Tulpa an action, they take the attack action, not you, which means you can't take the attack action and then give one of your attacks to your Tulpa and you take the attack yourself. So this is not going to be helping your Tulpa do extra damage quite yet. Now, if you have twin attack, which means that whenever you take the attack action, your Tulpa also takes the attack action, and vice versa, that means that your Tulpa will make one attack and then you will make 2 attacks. And if you have extra Tulpa attack, then same thing, you'll both make 2 attacks. But basically, extra attack is coming up first because of the fact that you have thought of choice twice here. That means that Tulpa being able to get a lot of attacks really quickly, I don't want you to be able to get extra Tulpa quite this quickly. So that's why it's that far away. That being said, we've got 3 different options to path out here. We've got Flanking Thought, we've got Flurry Blow, and we've got Rushing Blow. These are the 2 other new weapons that you can get on your Chieftain, which means that your Tulpa, if you max out all of the abilities, can have up to 7 different attacks, although regular blows will almost never be used after you pick up anything else because it is just straight up the weakest option. But let's start with Rushing Blow. This one says that it is a 5-foot reach melee weapon attack that deals 1d6 damage, but your Tulpa can move up to 20 feet before using this attack. This is free extra movement, and although it does the same amount of damage as the regular blows, it will help your Tulpa get around. It also notably can be used before actually taking the attack. So you can say, I'm going to use Rushing Blow, move your Tulpa 20 feet, attack something, and then use Rushing Blow for your second attack and move it another 20 feet. Again, you have to have a second attack on your Tulpa before this, but because you have 2 thought of choice options, I'm assuming that at least one of them was picked up a +1 attack. There is also Stomp, which is a upgrade to Rushing Blow. Just like all the other ones had upgrades to them, these 2 also have upgrades. Stomp says that if your Tulpa moves at least 25 feet in a straight line before making an attack, deal 2d6 extra damage on a hit. Notably, this is an upgrade to Rushing Blow because Rushing Blow gives it free movement whenever it makes the attack action. So using this with Rushing Blow is a way to deal 3d6 damage and almost guarantee that you'll trigger Stomp because you get extra 20 feet, which means you only need to be using 5 feet of movement beforehand. But you can technically use Stomp with any of the other options as long as you have at least 25 feet of movement before you take the attack action, which is pretty nice. And then we have the other option, Flurry Blow, which is actually technically the only damaging ability that does less damage than regular blows, but for good reason. This is a 5-foot reach melee weapon attack that deals 1d4 damage, and when your Tulpa uses this attack, you can make 1 extra Flurry Blows as long as you do not take the attack action with your body. So basically this is saying that your Tulpa can make 2 Flurry Blow attacks whenever they take this attack, which means that basically it's 2d4 damage, but you have to take 2 different attacks in order to do so. Basically, the concept behind this is that you're doubling your attacks to deal less damage, which stacks really well with abilities that deal extra damage whenever you hit, like Strong Mind over here that deals extra Wisdom modifier damage. So I would say Flurry Blow is one of the best abilities that you can pick up on your Tulpa, but it does say that you cannot take the attack action with your body, which means that it kind of anti-synergies with Twin Attack, meaning that in order to be like the true Tulpa is my guardian and my defender, my stand if you want to be playing a JoJo style character, this is the ability for you, and Combo makes it even better. Combo says that instead of taking the attack action with your body, you can add the number of attacks you would have made to your Tulpa's attack action, as long as they only use Flurry Blows. So, you have extra attack right here. Let's say that you also have Twin Attack so that you can actually give the attack to your Tulpa. And let's say that your Tulpa used one of their thought of choice options to give themselves a +1 attack, which means that they have 2 attacks, You take the attack action, but instead of using it, you give it to your Tulpa. They have 4 attacks now, and every single one of those attacks is made with flurry blows. That is 8 attacks in 1 turn. Now, this is a little bit of a late game feature, and it is that you have to be giving all of this to your Tulpa, which means your Tulpa needs to be doing all the damage. This is really potent. And I am not exaggerating when I say that. You could be dishing out upwards of 80 damage guaranteed on top of all those d4s that you'll be adding. Throw in a spell that deals 1d6 whenever your Tulpa hits with damage, and that's so much extra damage. Combo flurry blows and having a bunch of attacks can be one of the most potent ways of having high damage on the Chieftain. And if you're worried that your feat choices aren't going to be mattering too much, well, Mental Gymnastics clears that up. Mental Gymnastics simply says that your Tulpa has access to all the feats that you have access to. If the feat has limited uses, they share uses with you. This is a game changer. Once you pick up Mental Gymnastics, suddenly all of the power that you were worried about not having on your Tulpa, because it was all going to you, all these feats that you had to pick up just to get through the class and wasn't helping your Tulpa, suddenly all benefit your Tulpa. Now we've got 2 different options. Again, extra attack moved into flanking thought earlier, so I'll pick that up quick. This just says that while you and your Tulpa are both within reach of the same creature, you and your Tulpa have a +2 bonus to attacks against them. That is just attack rolls, but that just means you're going to be more accurate whenever you're fighting together, which is very cool. Off this, we can pick up Wise Fists, which very similarly to Strong Mind over here is kind of on the opposite side of where you want it, specifically to make building Tulpas a little bit harder. Wise Fists just says that you can deal damage extra on all of your attacks equal to your Wisdom modifier, which means that now Strong Mind means your Tulpa will be doing Wisdom modifier extra damage, and Wise Fist says that you will be doing Wisdom modifier extra damage on all your attacks, which is very cool. And off this, we can pick up an ability score improvement and finish the whole thing off with extra Tulpa attack, which, if you couldn't figure that out, it gives extra attack to your Tulpa. Once you have this, and this, that's 4 attacks every turn, ignoring whatever you picked for thought of choice. Let's move into the final branches that we can grab with the Chieftain. This is probably one of the most, it's one of the most flavorful but least powerful ways that you can go. Of course, if you want to go this direction, do not be dissuaded. It is cool, and all of the abilities that you can pick up on the Tulpa are very fun, and I'm not trying to tell you how to play your character. We'll start with Ranged Mind. Again, we already got this earlier. It just gives you 10 feet times your proficiency bonus, extra distance your Tulpa can be away from you. Enlarged Creation. This just says that your Tulpa can now be manifest as a large creature. You get an ability score improvement, and then we can get Mounted Mind, which means that you can now mount your Tulpa. You can ride your Tulpa, which is very cool. Basically, if you wanted to play a cool Crusader Paladin type Chieftain build, where you take Chieftain as your main class, Paladin and Crusader as your subclasses, you're now using a Wisdom-based Smite build that can ride their Tulpa as their spirit steed, which is really cool. On top of this, we can grab a feat, and then we can grab a Massive Tulpa, which is the final ability I'll be talking about, and it's pretty simple. Just says that your Tulpa can be manifest as a huge creature, which again, mix this with the Medium Blow's Tear ability and the fact that it has a 15-foot reach on top of being huge, and you can control a huge area of the battlefield. But that's the class. I really like the Chieftain. I actually think it's one of my favorite classes in the game that I've made so far, especially martial-based. I think mixing it with a lot of different classes can make for some really unique and fun twists. And remember, the Tulpa does not need to be like a JoJo stand type creature. You can play a paladin that has a spirit steed that you've been manifest with your thought form. You can use this to get better saving throws, because again, you can use this with assisting dodge to just always have better saving throws by having your Tulpa just stick to you at all times. You can use this to have double concentration on spells. There's so many different paths you can go with the Chieftain, and I think if you actually look into the options, you can see that the Chieftain is a martial convincingly wise, you're a skill monkey, at least for charisma-based abilities. You can be a spellcaster, you can be a frontliner, you can be a backliner, you can be a tank. You can be a battlefield controller with just the massive tulpa and medium blows with tear abilities. I mean, it's not going to be as strong as a wizard, but the variability that you can get with the chieftain by just taking a few levels in other classes, either because they're your subclass or because you're just multi-classing them, can make the chieftain into a powerhouse and a really fun build. So overall, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you enjoyed hearing about my version of the summoner, made into D&D 5th edition, or the DST system at the very least. And of course, if you want to check out any of this, linked in the description is the Google Docs, which I have always linked, and it shows up everything that you want to, if you want to try any of this out, it's all free there. You can download, print out, and try out the system. Totally free. That being said, I hope that you enjoyed the video, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye.